Okay, let's. Thank you, Krishna. This is about the acharyas, you know. The water vapor is present everywhere, but is not accessible to us. And हम लोग इतना thirsty है, need some water. Okay, क्या करना है? So acharyas, their bhajans are like, you know, they are like the clouds pouring down the water to quench our thirst. All of a sudden, all the water vapor present everywhere is condensed into the clouds and the fresh water coming down to quench the thirst. Oh my God, I mean, what would have happened to us without this? Acharyas showing us how to get there. If only we can imbibe the mood of Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya, just that one Dainya Bhava. And if only we can, if it can sit within us forever. Oh, wow, wow. That is Vaikuntha. That is simply Vaikuntha. Harinam is there, wonderful, no doubt. Lord Krishna is there, wonderful, no doubt. Everything is there, everybody is there. But for us, who is giving us the access? Who is taking us there? Who is teaching us how to step forward? Yeah. I know. Yeah. Our Guru Parampara ki jai. Guru Parampara ki jai. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. You know, this there are different koshas. In Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a description of our not just the human body, but all the any mortal body. It's made of pancha koshas. Yeah, pancha kosha. The outermost kosha is Annamaya kosha. Means kosha is sheath. Annamaya means that sheath which is made of food. Yeah. So our outer body, the gross body, is Annamaya kosha. And inside Annamaya kosha is Pranamaya kosha, where the pranic energy moves. Yeah? Apana Vayu and Prana Vayu and Udana Vayu, all these Vayus are there. That's the second layer, second kosha, Pranamaya kosha. And beneath that is Manomaya kosha, that subtle body, mind. Yeah, that's the third layer. Pranamaya, Manomaya. Generally, that's the third layer. And the fourth layer is Vijnanamaya kosha, the intellectual layer, intellectual sheath. Kosha is sheath. And beneath all these four koshas or sheaths is, we are buried there, lying down there, the soul, Anandamaya kosha. It is called Anandamaya kosha because that kosha, the fourth layer, is just the soul, and the soul is just made of happiness, Anandamaya. As the Annamaya kosha, the body is just made of misery, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. The Anandamaya kosha is just made of happiness. So our bhakti process is to make our journey from Annamaya kosha to Anandamaya kosha. Our consciousness is so much struck in Annamaya kosha, the body platform, and then Manomaya kosha, the mind, ups and downs of the mind. We get stuck there, we are lost there, we cannot come out of that with that body and mind platform. And after that is an intellectual trap of you are God yourself. You don't go beyond, you don't have to go beyond this layer. You are God yourself. You just have to do this technique and then you'll be fine. Passing that, coming to the Anandamaya kosha, to our own platform, the spiritual platform, and getting us connected to our source, Lord Shri Krishna. All of that can just be done with one Acharya song. Straight journey from Annamaya Kosha to Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, and Anandamaya Kosha. So that's the potency. That's the potency of the pure devotees. And this is relevant, very much relevant to our topic today in Srimad Bhagavatam. I know last time Adidev Prabhu very nicely summarized the whole journey of bhakti. From Shraddha until Prema, that not just Prema, but Vastu Siddhi. The whole thing was nicely summarized. And I thought it'll be very relevant and important for us to know a little more about where we are at. That is Anartha Nivritti. What happens to us when we start bhakti? That is Shubhada. Shubha is auspiciousness. Da is give. So when we start practicing bhakti, bhakti gives auspiciousness. Shubha, da. What is it? That we will find out. Kleshagni. What are the kleshas? Miseries. Why do we have those kleshas? And how is bhakti removing that kleshagni? That we will see. So kleshagni, shubhada, and during the Anartha Nivritti, what do we go through in the beginning? And as we come to the Nishta, what do we see in ourselves? These things we will talk today. That way, it will be more relevant for us and more useful for us to actually. That'll be the topic today. Okay, we'll move on. So I'll share this screen. Yes. So can you see the screen, please? Yes, thank you. So this is what we were discussing about. The whole journey was explained from Shraddha to past Prema Vastu Siddhi. What we will do today is we will see these stages. Ado Shraddha. After we commit to the process of bhakti and sadhu sangha, as we get together and do the bhakti process together, hearing together, and sharing Krishna Katha and doing Kirtan together. This is all sadhu sangha and bhajana kriya. Devotees getting together to do the service together is sadhu sangha and bhajana kriya. When that happens, all the unwanted, anartha, those things that are not of any purpose to us, anartha, those will be washed away as we do this bhajana kriya together. And as all this dirt gets washed away, we get to a steady platform inside and also outside. Inside, in getting some attachment to bhakti, attachment to Harinam, attachment to the devotional service. That we will feel inside, Nishta, and that will be reflected outside. Our steadiness in our sadhana, in our interactions, in our service, that is all reflected outside too. That is the stage of Nishta. So what happens during this period? During this Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti and Nishta. That's our focus today. First thing is, you see these two leaves here? This is Shubhada and Kleshagni. Actually, first Kleshagni and Shubhada. Klesha Agni. What are the Kleshas? Miseries. Agni is fire, right? So What are those kleshagnis? How are they caused? That we will see now. This is Nishta Bhakti. Where are you, kleshagnis? Okay, these are the kleshagnis. So there are the five. These are the 5 reasons why we experience miseries. To start with, in a general sense, when we say we have miseries, it's because of the ignorance and passion. By the time we get to the goodness, there's not so much of misery, though we can get trapped in Brahmanda with the goodness. But in general, it's because of ignorance and passion, right? That's a general understanding. But if we get to the specific understanding of where does this misery arise, then it will be very helpful for us to correct ourselves if we know step by step where it happens. So first reason for the misery is avidya. Vidya is real knowledge. Yeah? Avidya is that which is not real, or ignorance. Vidya is real knowledge is I am soul, I am eternal. Avidya is I am body, or I am mind, and I am intelligence. That is avidya. So when we are identifying ourselves in the Annamaya Kosha, I am body, and whatever feeling in my mind, ups and downs, if I'm identifying myself there and getting stuck there, yeah, that is mind. And the intelligence. If the intelligence is saying, okay, this is intelligence function is to discrimination and decision making. So if it is telling us, you make this decision so you can have a comfortable life, you have a comfortable body and you can enjoy this body, enjoy this life. That kind of intelligence is polluted intelligence. It is getting us more deeper into material modes. So that is avidya. The right kind of intelligence is that intelligence that guides us to get away from the modes. That is vidya. Okay. So this avidya, how does it cause misery? Because avidya means getting more focused and stuck with the thoughts of body, the demands of body. Yeah. Any animal has that, human being also has that. What is that? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And how to make this body comfortable and how to enjoy this body. So if our thought and focus and effort goes only about comforting the body and giving enjoyment to the body, that is avidya. And it is bound to cause miseries. And if our thoughts are focused more on how our mind is feeling and getting stuck with ups and downs of the mind, trying to fix it, that also causes its own miseries, because we are identifying with the mind and getting stuck there. And coming a friend, if we are stuck with the intelligence only and using it to try to fix the problems of this Dukhala Masashvatam, where the problems cannot be fixed, even if it is fixed, it is temporary or incomplete, and they would come back. So if we are using intelligence just to make some adjustments in this material world, then that is also going to have its own miseries. So in this way, avidya, if I am identifying with my body, my mind, and my polluted intelligence, I am going to have the miseries. But if I'm starting bhakti, how is bhakti eradicating these miseries? Bhakti is saying, you are spirit soul. And on top of you are these layers, the body, mind, and intelligence. So you don't have to pay so much attention to what is going on there. Just do what is needful and pay attention to your eternal occupation. You are a spirit soul And your eternal occupation is to reciprocate with the Supreme Soul, devotional service. So put your focus, your thought, and your energy into reciprocating with Bhagavan, Supreme Soul. That is Vidya. And if we are acting on the platform of the Vidya, we will not have the misery. This is how Bhakti removes the kleshagni that generates from the body, mind, or intelligence. That's about avidya. So once we start the process of bhakti, as we get established ourselves, identified as dear servitor of the lordships, then any misery related to avidya slowly goes away. Next question is, see, we say the misery of the body is janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi. But even the pure devotees, they take birth, they leave the body, they get the disease, they get old. Then how is bhakti eradicating this? Right? Those pure devotees, those bhaktas, though the body is going through these changes, they are not influenced by it. Generally, the death and the janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, all these four things are associated with fear and pain. That is for a conditioned soul, for somebody who's not practicing bhakti. But for who is practicing bhakti, especially as they get more advanced in bhakti, they do not have any fear associated with death. They are not fearful of death. They just see it as a change in the body. Yeah. And they are not so much affected with the bodily miseries, like Srila Prabhupada on the deathbed again. He was about to leave the body and he was having that bone pain also. Yeah. And he was old. The body was old. So practically speaking, Janma was there, Mrityu was there, Jara was there, and Vyadi was also there. But he was not affected a bit. Like a drop on the lotus leaf, they are not affected. That is how bhakti can keep one unaffected with the pain and the fear associated with the body. And when it comes to the mind, the kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, they're slowly washed away. So the dirt is gone. So there's no pain through the mind also. And the intelligence will be purified with the Shastra and Guru Vakya. And that intelligence gets us very well established in the devotional service. So with the effect of bhakti at these different levels, on the body, on the mind, on the intelligence, all the miseries caused by all these layers are gradually removed. And this is how bhakti is removing the klesha related to avidya. Because of avidya, there is asmita. Asmita means identifying with a temporary designation. Like in this life, somebody may be in the female body, somebody in the male body. And the female body, then, okay, the female body, then she's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister, she's a wife. So that designations, there are so many designations attached because that person has identified, with that body. And each designation has a package deal, a misery associated with that while they perform their responsibility. So that is the misery associated with asmita. But if one takes up bhakti, what happens at asmita? They are not affected by the miseries or whatever that happens through the responsibilities that they do in their designation as a mother, father, brother, whoever. They just do their responsibility, but they're not affected by the ups and downs in the relationship. Somebody who is not doing bhakti can get very much affected with those ups and downs. But somebody who is practicing bhakti, they just look at these designations and the responsibilities associated with the designations as their services. They try to do their best. And because they are practicing devotion and they are established in the fact that they are their eternal occupation is to reciprocate with Lord, and their temporary occupation is to serve in this capacity. Because of this understanding and because of this conception, they try to bring spirituality even in their naimittika dharma, in their temporary responsibilities. In that way, bhakti is removing the miseries that rises between the material relationships also, because it spiritualizes the material relationships. And when something is spiritualized, there is no misery there, because the focus is only to serve when something is spiritualized. Yeah. So that's how Kleshagni is gone in Asmita stage. Raga will.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, we could, Prabhu, or maybe
later. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhu. Yes, thank you. Yeah. So Raga and Dvesha, they are related to the same identification. Whatever brings happiness to my, whatever is helping me to pursue happiness, I'm attached to it. And whatever is stopping me to pursue happiness, then I try to avoid it. That is Dvesha. So Raga is, I want this because it is helping me to get this material enjoyment. Or I want him, or I want her, I like him, I want this because it is helping me with this material enjoyment or material comfort. That's Raga. Dvesha is just the opposite. I don't want her, I don't want him, I don't want that. I avoid that because that would not give me the material enjoyment. So that Raga and Dvesha automatically happen if I am trying to have material happiness. Yeah, so that's a package deal that happens there. If there is bhakti, how can the misery from Raga and Dvesha go away? When somebody is practicing bhakti, their focus is again only to do the devotional service in their capacity under guidance. So they are not much bothered about who is going to give them what, happiness, misery. They're not much bothered about it. They are just engaged in the service, and whoever Krishna sends them to serve with, they are happy, satisfied, peaceful. That way they don't have any raga, dvesha. And there are no miseries that come as a package deal with raga, dvesha that touches them. That's how bhakti takes away the miseries of raga and dvesha. Abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is like our self-constructed, self-formed bubble, self-bubble. So I am this now with this identity. And I have dislikes and I have these dislikes. And I want to do it this way. So I am in my own self-bubble. That is Abhinivesha. Abhinivesha is standing in our own bubble, our my bubble. But in devotion, the devotee wants to be in the Krishna samsara, the Krishna's world, not in their own bubble. Just with that, if the devotee is realizing that he or she is a part of the Krishna samsara, Krishna's world, all the miseries they get evaporated. Because in Vaikuntha, there are no miseries. So Abhinivesha is my bubble. causing multiple miseries. Bhakti can take us from that my bubble to Krishna's world. And so the miseries will be gone. So in this way, all the kleshas that are generated at the level of avidya from the body platform, mind, and intelligence are all washed away by establishing in the vidya that I am a dear servitor of the Supreme Lord. And the miseries of Asmita are washed away by again identifying ourselves as the servant of the Lord. Yeah. And so Raga Dvesha are gone because when we are Hari Janas, Hari Bhaktas, then we have not much to do with anything or anybody around on a material transaction level. So there's not much of Raga and Dvesha. Abhinivesha is, we are not in my bubble, but in Krishna's world. So this is how Bhakti takes away all the miseries. And in this way, it is getting us out of the karma cycle. We have talked many times that when we start Bhakti cycle, the karma cycle ends. This is how karma cycle gradually ends. By when Bhakti intervenes at every level and stops the misery. There's one more slide that is pertaining to it. I'm going to say that too and then give a pause. So this whole package deal, this Kleshagni, with this my bubble thing, with this kind of polluted software in us, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, when we try to do something, that doing is called karma. And it inevitably hurts others because we are in our own bubble and we cannot really, since we are the center of what we are doing, it is going to hurt others. And that is why it is called karma. What goes around comes around. So whatever actions we perform with this perception in this my bubble, those actions are going to have reactions. And those reactions are this. When I am in my bubble, I want to see what brings me enjoyment. And that material enjoyment by default is a sinful desire in Vedic terminology. So that's the bija. Automatically the desires, when I have the desires and I do the action too, that's the papa. And when I am doing an action, there will be a reaction sooner or later. That later is aprarabdha karma, sooner is prarabdha karma. This is how we are stuck in a material cycle, in the karma cycle, if we are not practicing bhakti. But if we practice bhakti, if we commit, take up the process of bhakti, do it regularly, then bhakti will intervene at every level, removing all our miseries. That's why bhakti causes removal of klesha agni, the fire of miseries. They are those are stopped. That's klesha agni. This is also relevant to it, this shloka, and maybe we'll do this from Srimad Bhagavatam. See, bhakti is so powerful that it is interfering at all these levels, starting from avidya to abhinivesha, at all these levels, and is taking us out from every part of this cycle. Bijam, papam, aprarabdham, kutam, everything. Because kutam means sinful disposition, means wanting to indulge in material enjoyment. But when we start taking sadhana bhakti, when we start to do sadhana bhakti, we are coming out of the material enjoyment gradually. So the inclination to have the material enjoyment, that predisposition building up to the desire and to actually indulge in that, all gradually comes down. And that's why both prarabdha karma, aprarabdha karma, the kutam, bijam, papam, everything is gone in bhakti. Especially when we come to the stage when the inner sharanagati is complete, by the stage of nishta, ruchi, all of them are totally gone. The body is just sustained because of the desire of Bhagavan, and there are no more sins left over. So that's the potency of bhakti. Then what about the potency of other yogas? Right? Ashtanga yoga is there, Jnana yoga is there. Those yogas, are they this potent as bhakti? Can they really take us out of the karma cycle and burn our karmas? Srimad Bhagavatam says this. Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya karmashayam grahitam karmashayam graditam udgradayanti santaha tadvannariktamatayo yatayo piruda shrota ganastam aranam bhaja vasudeva. These devotees who are serving the lotus feet of Lord Hari, karmashayam graditam, they can easily overcome the hard, knotted desires for fruitive activities. It means the kutam, bijam are all gone. Karmashayam graditam. Udgradayanti santaha. Santaha are devotees. Yeah. They are breaking up this karma cycle here. The devotees who are doing devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Hari. What's happening to the other practitioners in Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga? What's happening to them? Tadvanna rikta matayo. They are trying to rikta matayo. They are trying to empty their mind. Yatayo apiruda shrota ganas. Struggling hard to control their senses. But in vain. That's why tam aranam bhajavasudevam. That's why take up the process of devotional service. In the other process, they're just trying to empty their mind. They're not filling it with the hari. There is no hari in their mind. There is no devotion to the lotus feet. There is no devotional service going on. That's why it is so hard for them to do this. Karma shayam graditam nur udgradayanti. This part, they cannot do it. Because they are not doing yet pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya. That's why tam aranam bhaja vasudevam. So bhakti is so potent, but the other two processes cannot do this. What happened to Saubhari Muni? He did Ashtanga Yoga for how many thousands of years? He went underneath the Yamuna river, even to practice that. What happened to his senses? Such a great yogi who could become almost invisible and went underneath the water in the Yamuna. And what happened? Still, the material enjoyment, the inclination for the material enjoyment was still there. That's why when even in that Sukshma Sarira, when he saw two fishes coming together, then he just lost his sense control. He wanted to come out of the water and he wanted to get married. That happened to a yogi in that yuga after such long austerity, thousands and thousands of years of sense control. Yeah. And what to speak, what happened to Vishwamitra? When Menaka came, nothing, everything is gone, all the tapas that he has did. So that's why Bhagavatam is saying, Yatayo apiruda shrota ganas. This sense control. See, to stop the waves of sense gratification, they try hard, but they cannot do so. So other yogas, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, cannot do so much as Bhakti Yoga. Complete eradication of sinful proclivity or material enjoyment tendency. And why is that happening? Complete eradication? Because they're busy with this. Yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya. When we are positively engaged in the devotional service of Lord Hari, there is no fall down. And there is no sinful proclivity. In Vaikuntha, there's no sinful proclivity. But for the other yogis, since they don't do this yat pada pankaja palasa vilasa bhaktya, they can still get into the karma cycle. Yeah? So that's about Kleshagni, all the kleshas at different levels. And that's the cycle of karma from which bhakti pulls us out completely, burns the roots of sense gratification. And that's the Srimad Bhagavatam endorsing that bhakti is the way to go, because Jnana yogis and Ashtanga yogis, in spite of their severe attempts to control their senses and mind, they cannot do so. So, tam aranam bhaja Vasudeva. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam is endorsing. That's about Kleshagni. That happens in the initial stages of bhakti. I will pause here. And yes, Nitai Gurumani Prabhu, you have held it for a long time. Please go ahead, Prabhu. We will do the next one later. Shubhada. Shubhada is nice, sweet, a simple, short one. So maybe we'll take a few questions, do Shubhada, and then we may be able to pass here. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Mataji, if you wanted to continue with the flow, it's okay. I can.
Is that okay?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah.
Then the two leaves, both Kleshagni and Shubhada, will be covered today. Yeah?
Yes.
And next time we can do the waves of Anartha Nivritti and what happens as we get close to Krishna. Yeah, if that's okay. So that's about Kleshagni, removal of Kleshagni. That's the beautiful process that we are in. It's work in progress. It is happening. You know, earlier Prabhu was saying, right, the other day, the petals, Jiva Goswami giving the example. That is Suchi Patra Nyaya. When we say, Bhakti is going to eradicate everything, it's just a matter of time. And the same thing can sound like, okay, whenever happens, it happens. It could be days or months or years or lives, but it happens. It can be taken that way too. This is based on the Suchi Patra Nyaya, which means if you are passing a needle through Suchi Patra, Patra is leaf. So if you take a bunch of leaves and pass a needle through it, how long does it take for the needle to pierce those bunch of leaves? Maybe 30 seconds. And maybe if they are so thick, maybe a minute, right? So this 30 seconds or a minute can be said, oh, it's just 30 seconds. In a minute, we can just pierce through all these layers of leaves. And that could be in minutes, in hours, in months, in years, or in lives. It depends upon how thick the leaves are and how sharp the needle is. So that is work in progress. It does happen. And how much of it will happen will, again, depend upon how thick are the leaves and how sharp is the needle, like that. So the process guarantees, but the timeline is variable from person to person. That's Kleshatmi. Yeah. Shubhada. Shubha, auspiciousness. Da, gives. So when we start bhakti, bhakti gives auspiciousness. That auspiciousness starts with, these qualities would come one after the other. As the ignorance and passion slows down, the qualities of goodness, they come one after the other. Gradually, they do. Though these qualities look like the qualities of goodness, there's a big difference. They all look like the qualities of goodness, but they are not the qualities of this world. The qualities that we get in bhakti are from spiritual realm, not from this material world. What does that mean? See, like this. If somebody is not practicing devotion and is peaceful, satisfied, that's very good. That part is mode of goodness. That quality is in goodness. But that person is peaceful and satisfied just because it makes him feel good. That's why he's peaceful and satisfied. That's it. He doesn't have any big reason. If he's not peaceful, it just makes him agitated. He doesn't feel good. So in order for him to feel good, he's peaceful, right? Please note, he is peaceful because it makes him feel good. But when somebody takes a process of bhakti, here bhakti is giving this quality. How is bhakti giving this quality of this peacefulness or any of these qualities in goodness? It's more than goodness actually. When somebody starts sadhana bhakti, this we have already discussed, that was posted in the WhatsApp too. When somebody starts sadhana bhakti, they are cultivating the spiritual knowledge. Yeah. And they are studying the Vedas. They are performing the sacrifice, Nama Yajna. They are doing the charity. They have the self-control, the 4 regulative principles, and they just don't eat anything and everything outside. They have relative self-control when compared to others who don't practice bhakti. And they have this austerity, following these rules, regulations, doing ekadasis, yeah, and simplicity. This is very important. This needs more explanation, but simplicity means actually faith, just receiving the information without any twisting. That's simplicity. This actually bhakti gives us, and we can talk about that more later, but bhakti gives this simplicity. And non-violence. Yeah, when somebody's practicing bhakti, they don't take meat because it is violence to other bodies. And we don't want to speak harsh and agitate others because it's violence to their mind. It's part of the bhakti process. Because we are following bhakti, this non-violence ornament or quality is going to come as a part of that bhakti process. Truthful, same thing. Freedom from anger. Anger doesn't help us in service. Anger doesn't help us to be in bhakti. So slowly, our desire to get rid of the anger first, that will come in bhakti. And slowly, as we practice bhakti, as we get washed off the modes, the anger, which is a characteristic in the lower mode, ignorance, also gets washed away. This happens even in the very beginning stages too. We have devotees coming and saying, we started chanting Mataji, they're not even initiated yet. And they say, I used to be like that before, angry, but now it doesn't bother me much. They didn't even commit to the process of bhakti. These changes can happen even before that. more so after, but even before that. Tranquility, same thing. Aversion to fault finding, because this doesn't help in bhakti. We don't want to do that. So we don't want to do any of these negative things because it doesn't help in bhakti. And we want to do all of these positive things because it helps us in bhakti. That is our reason, not because it makes us feel good. It's very important to notice this point, because somebody who is not practicing bhakti may be peaceful in mode of goodness. Somebody who's just practicing bhakti and is not so peaceful yet may not be in goodness yet, but in the path of devotion. So this person who is in mode of goodness, pakka in mode of goodness, when they leave the body, where are they going to go? Mode of goodness, peaceful, non-envious. Where are they going to go? Destination, back to this world, Brahmanda. Because this is the place for the ignorance, passion, and goodness. But a practicing devotee may have still have the ignorance and passion in him or her. But as he or she practices bhakti, after few months or years or next life or so, their ultimate destination is past the modes. Because their journey is to cross the modes, not to stay in the mode. They are not doing what they are doing for them to feel good. They are trying to do what they are doing so it can help them in bhakti, so it can please Krishna. And where is the location of bhakti and Krishna? It's not in this Brahmanda, it's beyond the Brahmanda. So their destination is spiritual realm. So when the devotees comes to a stage of peacefulness and satisfaction, that may look like mode of goodness, but that's not mode of goodness of this world. That is a part of their journey to the transcendental world. Big difference. Because if the devotee is quitting body at that time, peaceful, satisfied, connected to Krishna, then their destination is Vaikuntha, not back to Brahmanda. Okay? So that's how bhakti is going to give us all these good qualities as the devotee strives to have all the things favorable for bhakti and strives to get rid of those things not favorable to bhakti, so Krishna can be pleased. It's a journey, and they gradually come one after the other. Srimad Bhagavatam says, all the divine qualities of the demigods, all the demigods come and reside in a devotee who is practicing bhakti. What good is a non-devotee whose mind is manoradhena dhavati, whose mind, who is running on the chariot of mind here and there? What good of that kind of life whose mind is, who is running in the chariot of the mind here and there? It's better to be a devotee and practice bhakti, so all the qualities of the demigods come and reside in the devotee. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam says, I think in 6th canto. So this is how bhakti is the giving Shubha, auspiciousness, starting with these wonderful qualities which are equivalent to look like the modes of goodness qualities. But please look at that, fearlessness is also there. That fearlessness comes when Savai Mana Krishna Padara Vindayo, Abhaya Charanara Vinda. When somebody is seeking the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Hari, fixed in the thoughts of Lord Hari, fixed in the exchange with the lotus feet of Lord Hari, in the bhava of Sharanagati. That's fearlessness. They are fearless. Fear is because of Bhayam dvitiya abhinivesham. Fear is because we don't see Krishna in what is happening to us. But when we see Krishna, bhayam dvitiya abhinivesham, then there is no fear. So for a Sharanagata Bhakta, there is no moment without Krishna. Regardless of so-called happy or unhappy, auspicious or inauspiciousness, there is no moment without Krishna for them. So that's why they are fearless. So Bhakti gives that Shubhada also. Yeah, not just the qualities of goodness, but beyond that, the qualities of the emotions of Sharanagati. Bhakti gives that. And this is how Bhakti gives all these wonderful qualities, starting from the very start of the journey, and they only add up as we move on in the journey. Here, you see this is the Nishta stage here. So all these qualities add up. Here in the initial stage, all those qualities of ignorance and passion gets washed away, and the qualities of goodness, they come in here, they become a part of us, they make us steady inside out, and our ruchi increases, and the fearlessness and the dependence on the Guru and Krishna becomes our very own nature, which propels us forward from ruchi to asakti. And at asakti, we will have an abhasa of our swarupa. And that abhasa becomes swarupa in bhava. And then there will be exchange with Bhagavan in prema. They'll be able to see the pastimes and then enter the pastimes in Vasthi. Pause. I'm going to stop here. Shubhada. Okay, so that's what we have discussed. Kleshagni, Shubhada. Please go ahead. Questions, reflections, discussions. We can pause the record here.